What's up everybody and welcome back to the channel. Before we get into today's controversial video, make sure to subscribe and stack that like button. So in today's video I'm going to be doing my top 5 corners. Now, corners is one of the toughest positions to rank, and this is why this might have been the toughest list I've made. I mean, there's so many different top 5s out there. So without further ado, let's begin. Now, almost every single statistic that I mentioned in this video will be according to PFF, Pro Football Focus. So, because I'm going to be using a lot of advanced statistics to support my rankings. So, let's begin. Coming in at number 5, I have Stefan Gilmore. Stefan Gilmore played only 8 games last year, and Stefan Gilmore is one of the best cornerbacks of all time. I truly believe that. I believe he's a top 10 corner of all time, and I know I'm not alone. I ranked him top 10 in my top 10 corners of all time. Over the last couple of years, sure, he's taken a dip, but I think the truth of the matter is with Stefan Gilmore, he is still at the top of the game. Last year, he only had 2 interceptions, but like I said, he only played half the year. But when he did play, quarterbacks throwing in his direction had a 78.6 passer rating. Stefan Gilmore is still one of the best man-to-man corners in the NFL. He can go and guard almost anybody, and it's almost like when he's playing man-to-man, he has a speed boost. It's so amazing, and I think he's going to service his new team in the Indianapolis Colts very well this upcoming season. Coming in at number 4, one of the most polarizing players this past season, Trayvon Diggs. The reason I say polarizing is because there's so many different opinions out there on how good is Trayvon Diggs. Now, you know, the haters of Trayvon Diggs, a lot of them will say, oh, he allowed 1,000 yards last season. But here's the thing. First of all, he didn't allow 1,000. For whatever reason, people have decided to round this number to 1,000. He allowed 907 yards last season, and he played all 16 games. You got to remember that. The guy got 11 interceptions though, and in today's NFL, you're not gonna have a lockdown corner who doesn't allow a lot of yards and get a lot of picks. In today's NFL, there's so many good receivers, so many great quarterbacks. The rules are so touchy where corners can barely even touch a receiver. So due to that, corners are going to allow a lot of yards, even the best of the best. And the least you can hope for, the best you can hope for from your corners is, okay, if they allow the yards, they could still get a lot of turnovers, which turnovers win games. And that's what Trayvon Diggs did last season. He got 11 interceptions in his sophomore year in the NFL, and quarterbacks throwing in his direction had a 55.8 passer rating. That's very, very good from the cornerback perspective, and they're basically 50% completion rating when passing in his direction. His main weakness is, when he's in man-to-man, wide receivers who can put on a good double move or zig routes, he has trouble with that. That's how he got burned a lot. But if you put him in zone or just, a conservative man-to-man approach, he is very hard to complete a pass on, and he will always go for that interception. So I have Trayvon Diggs coming in at number 4. Coming in at number 3, I have TreDavious Wright of the Buffalo Bills, who missed the stretch of last season. He missed the final 6 regular season games and missed the entire playoffs due to an ACL injury, I believe. But when he did play, quarterbacks had a 59.9 passer rating throwing in his direction. He only had 1 interception the whole year, but he was targeted 64 times and only 33 of those passes were completed. One of the best zone coverage corners in the NFL, and I think he'll bounce back nicely this upcoming season. Number 2, I have Xavian Howard, who in the last 2 seasons has gotten 15 interceptions to his name. Last season, he only allowed a 72.6 passer rating when quarterbacks would throw in his direction. Xavian Howard, one of the best corners to do it, and he's been doing this now for a while. And he's a big part of that Dolphins defense, particularly that Dolphins secondary. Xavian Howard, crazy enough, he's only entering his 5th year. He seems like an older player, for whatever reason, but he's only entering his 5th year, and he's pretty much dominated his entire career so far. So we'll see if he keeps it up, which I think he will. And then coming in at number 1, no surprise here, I got Jalen Ramsey, who's been cemented himself as the best corner in the NFL over the last few years. Now, with Jalen Ramsey, he had a tough postseason last year. He did not play well throughout the postseason. He got burned by Mike Evans in that divisional round game. He got burned by T. Higgins in the Super Bowl. He had a rough postseason, an uncharacteristic postseason. It was actually pretty ugly. But postseason aside, this guy still did his thing last year. He got 4 interceptions and allowed only a 59.2% completion rating when throwing in his direction, and a 71.1 passer rating for quarterbacks who would throw in his direction. He was targeted nearly 100 times, which amazes me because he's really was that main corner, the only top tier corner in that Rams secondary, so you would think quarterbacks would throw in the opposite direction more often of Jalen Ramsey. So yeah, Jalen Ramsey, in my opinion, is still the best corner in the NFL, and I don't think anyone disagrees with that. He's pretty much the undisputed best. He's at number 1 on everybody's list. Now, before I end the video, because that is the top 5, I understand there's a lot of corners that arguably could have been this top 5. I'm talking about guys like Jair Alexander, guys like Marlon Humphrey, guys like Denzel Ward. Denzel Ward was just paid $100 million, the highest paid cornerback in NFL history, and I don't have him in the top 5. I just don't see him on the same level as any of these guys. And as for Jair Alexander, he missed pretty much all of last year, and you know, typically injuries don't set back corners that much when they return, but Jair Alexander, he's going to come back. The Packers have built a pretty good secondary. We'll see how well he bounces back. I think beforehand he was considered the 2nd best CB right next to Jalen Ramsey for sure. But, you know, I think he's going to have to reclaim that spot. And I really do penalize people even when it's not their fault when they don't play. And then with Marlon Humphrey, really it was as simple as I took a look at the passer rating for quarterbacks when they throw in his direction, it was 99 point something. To have a guy in the top 5 who had allowed basically 100 passer rating to quarterbacks when they throw in his direction, I think wouldn't make sense. All these other guys kept their quarterbacks' passer ratings in the low 70s or lower. So that's my top 5: Gilmore, Diggs, White, Howard, Ramsey. Comment down below what you guys think about this, because you know, this is a list that I really had no idea what it was going to come out like before I made it until I did some research, unlike other lists. So yeah, comment down below, and other than that, I'll see you guys next time.